Well, for some reaction, we're now reaching out to Janet Pitsiulaaq Brewster, a member of Nunavut's Legislative Assembly. Janet, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Now, this report from the Auditor General obviously raises many troubling issues when it comes to children in care in Nunavut. But perhaps what makes this even worse is that this is not the first time that these issues have been raised. What's been your reaction to the report?
Well, my very first concern is the troubling information that Nunavut doesn't really know how many children are in foster care right now or where they are. The numbers that the government of Nunavut gives differ from the numbers that were given to the Auditor General, and it's very concerning.
Now, the Premier does say that he's deeply disheartened by this report, and he says that he would establish an audit and also develop an accountability framework. Are you satisfied with that response?
Somewhat satisfied. However, as I said, my number one concern is where are these children and what's happening in their lives right now. And it really does concern me that wasn't first and foremost in the Premier's response, is a commitment to find all of the children who are in care and ensure that they are safe right now.
I'm wondering what you are hearing from constituents as this news is being shared. What's being said to you? Because as you say, at the end of the day, these are children and the numbers are still unknown.
Rightfully so. My constituents are very concerned about what's happening in these children's lives and are concerned and wondering what's going to happen in terms of how to track these children down. And next to that is how the government of Nunavut is going to implement the promises that the Premier has laid out in their plan of action.
Mm-hmm. What more would you like to see then, in terms of specifics? What do you think actually needs to be done?
First off, we have a trauma and addictions treatment center that's being built in Iqaluit, which means that families will be able to receive treatment and care at home related to the trauma the intergenerational trauma that's impacting families, which of course is what's leading to so many children being removed from the care of their parents. And that what we know about that is that the baseline Inuit Health Survey in 2007-8 indicated that 50% of women and almost 25% of adult men at that time had experienced childhood sexual abuse. And what we know about the intergenerational cycle of abuse is that it doesn't stop until people are treated for that trauma. So there's a lot of work to be done, and that means staffing up that, not just building the infrastructure, but training staff to be employed at that center.
And what about Ottawa, Janet? How do you think the federal government needs to respond or contribute to find some type of solution to this situation?
What I can say is that I am very happy in recent years with the amount of investment that Ottawa has put into Nunavut in terms of specifically into Iqaluit in terms of our infrastructure. However, there are housing issues across the north that impact the government of Nunavut's ability to house our citizens, as well as to, importantly, house the employees that we need to hire in order to ensure the safety of our children. There are so many, I think there's a vacancy rate of almost 50% in child protective services in the territory. And a big part of that, the reason for that vacancy rate is that we have nowhere to house employees, let alone our citizens. And so further investment into building housing and infrastructure in the territory is what needs to happen in order to alleviate the issue of the children in care.
Hmm. Now, as I said, this is not the first time that issues around children in care have been raised in Nunavut. The first one was all the way back in 2011, and yet here we are with this very troubling report from the Auditor General. Do you think this report will be listened to this time? Do you think it will spark some type of progress? And what's the danger if it's not?
Well, it is very concerning that the last two Auditor General reports, actually in 2011 and 2014, weren't substantively followed up on, and a big part of that is because of the lack of resources that the territory has in terms of staffing, as I mentioned, and what concerns me is that I suppose the Auditor General took the approach of not making any further recommendations because she wants to see the recommendations from those last two reports implemented, and it's up to Premier and Cabinet now to take all of those recommendations from all of the reports that the Auditor General has put so much time and effort into, and that actually includes the citizens and employees who took part in that audit. Well, the employees that took part in that audit, we ask people to share knowledge and solutions. Yet, if we don't actually implement the solutions that come from the people that work within the system, then we're going to be chasing our tail for the next decade or generations.
Janet Pitsiulaaq, Brewster, thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you for your time.